Hey everybody, Ben here from the Bonehead podcast, and we've got a Spike review here. We're looking at Spike issue 11. So before we move on, I just want to say a big thank you to entoyment.co.uk, which is our friendly local game shop. They've also got a brilliant online presence now. We host all our tournaments there, and they help us out by letting us have review copies of some of the products that are coming out for Blood Bowl. So they help us bring content, which is fantastic. So if you are buying your wargame stuff, please check out entoyment.co.uk. Supporting them helps support us, so thank you. However, back onto the Spike magazine. So Spike issue 11 is probably my favourite Spike magazine, which is crazy because I really loved them and I was not expecting this one to be as good as it is. So let's delve in and have a look. So obviously got a new setup, there's going to be a bit of shine. I'll do my very best to keep the glare down as much as possible, but it might be a little bit like the new Star Trek movies at first. There might be a bit of lens flare. So page 1, we've got a beautifully painted Necromantic team. Not surprising, same as all of them. It's the box art. We still haven't got alternate painting schemes yet. I wish they'd do that, like in the old Blood Bowl 2nd edition rulebooks and stuff, where they had like different team colours and like this is a dwarf giant, this is a dwarf warhammers. It's just cool. It would have been nice to see some individually painted alternate schemes. So we've got the classic Greetings Sports Fans entry page, and then you've got the breakdown of what a Necromantic team is, which is exactly what you'd normally get. So it's actually quite cool. There's some great fluff in here. I'm not going to go through it all, but it does break down what each of the players is. So Wraiths are a new player type. They've replaced Wights. So let's just quickly have a look at that. So it's not unheard of for a Blood Bowl player who signed a deal with a Necromantic horror team to be on the wrong end of a tackle so fierce and probably illegal that their body is left in no fit state for even the most talented of necromancers to do anything with. And so they would need to find another way to sign the player to their team. In cases such as these, necromancers will resort to calling upon the spirit of the recently deceased to fulfill the terms of their contract. These players will return to the land of the living as wraiths, spectral shadows of their former selves that do not fully exist on the mortal plane. This doesn't stop them from playing Blood Bowl though, quite the opposite in fact. Though they may not be able to hold the ball as it simply slips through their incorporeal bodies, wraiths are more than capable of packing quite a punch upon an unsuspecting opposition player, appearing behind them and giving them quite a scare when they least expect it. Unsurprisingly, wraiths are notoriously hard to pin down. Well, think about it. Have you ever tried to grab hold of a ghost? That basically is how this entire thing is written. I love the tongue-in-cheek style. I love that. That's just Blood Bowl all over. So they've got a good breakdown of each of the player types. So then you've got the roster page here, which we've already seen the roster. If you want to have a look at our breakdown of it, there's a couple of videos where we look through tournament builds and league builds. Have we got the skills stuff out? Yeah, there'll be a team development video coming out for them, certainly sure, soon anyway. Necromantic horror, so you've got the breakdown there, which is exactly what you already know it is. And star player wise though, we are getting some new star players, which is very cool. So we've got Bryce the Slice Campbell, he's back, so he's featured a little bit later in the book. We've got Frankenstein, and we've got Wilhelm Cheney, Skrull, Helmut, Gretchen, Crumbleberry, Grack, and they're all in the standard rulebook. In fact, it even says there the rules for Frankenstein, Wilhelm Cheney, and Bryce the Slice can be found later this issue. So all the breakdown of the star players. The fact is we're getting 3 new star players for undead teams because they all play for the Sylvanian Spotlight teams. Very needed, given that the outstanding list of star players wasn't best for undead, necromantic, and tomb kings. So this is my favourite piece of any Spike magazine, is the famous Necromantic team. So every issue, maybe every issue, but for the last few, they've had 4 spotlights of teams that aren't the main one. So it kind of gives you a bit of inspiration for fluff. So if you are running a Necromantic team, you know, maybe you could be the Werewolfenheim Wanderers, you know, or the Crimson Cadavers. It just gives you some cool inspiration for the team. And throughout this book, you will see this great art. So I'm not going to go into too much details because I don't want to take it away from you, because this is the first one I've read in a while, and I just sat down and read it, which is why this video is coming out after some of the other videos. So we got the career highlights of the Wolfenburg Crypt Stealers, which is normal. Then you've got the Crypt Stealers Team of Legend. I can't remember what they Hall of Fame team. It comes in at 1880, this team, and there's not a huge amount there. What is there is all of the positionals, so it's not surprising the team is so expensive, even though everyone's basically got one skill, and that's it. But they're all really standard skills, apart from Doran, the zombie lineman, who's got block and pro, pushing out the boat there. So their special rule: during the opposing team's first team of any drive, any standing player from the Wolfenberg Crypt Stealers is counted as having the Disturbing Presence team. Any standing player. So so the first team of your opponent's turn, if you're running the Crypt Stealers, everybody has DP, which is brutal. So we've got our first star player spotlight here. We've got Frankenstein. I'm not going to go into reading too much of this, but it does a great job of covering the fluff behind him, and you can see the cards here. These have already been spoiled, but this guy's movement 4, strength 5, agility 4+, passing dash, AV 10, 250k for a star, so a bit of a chunky boy. Break tackle means he's dodging around all of 3+ once per turn. Loner 4+, pretty normal. Mighty blow +1, pretty normal. Regeneration, exactly normal for this team. Stand firm and thick skull. So here's basically a strength boosted golem, flesh golem. That's bang on normal. Once per game, he basically gets an additional mighty blow. May choose to add an additional +1 and modify to the injury roll. So kind of gets mighty blow armor and mighty blow on injury once per game. Sorry. So 250k. He's a big investment, but a cool star player, and I'm expecting to see a miniature for him soon. You've got his career highlights. You've got from the dugout, which we see every episode. Definitely worth a little read and a good chuckle. Then you've got Wilhelm Cheney star player spotlight. So Wilhelm, again, you've probably seen these rules. Movement 8, strength 4, agility 3+, passing 4+, armor 9+, catch, claws, frenzy, loner 4+, regeneration and wrestle. So the Wilhelm Cheney of old. And savage mauling once per game. When Wilhelm makes an injury roll against an opposing player, he may choose to re-roll the result. So Wilhelm Cheney, coming in at 220, is a beast. He is going to be a fantastic star player for all of these undead teams. Agility 3+ means he's doing most of what you need him to do. Catch means that the handoff, he's got that integral reroll, so look for Wilhelm to be very effective. And again, we've seen a spoiler for the miniature for for Scroll, so I wouldn't be surprised if Frankenstein and Wilhelm Cheney weren't coming up closely after. So on to reason number 1 I love this magazine, other than the art and everything that you would expect. We have got Sylvanian Nighttime Leagues. Okay, so basically it is another league. So we saw this in the Lizardman one, and here we have the Spooky Skull Cup. So this is a variation on standard Blood Bowl League season. How the league itself is organised, blah blah blah, is down to you. But basically, it's got special rules to run an undead kind of themed league, which is sweet. Ben and I did a podcast about special leagues and themed leagues and things, and now you've got another one, because we saw the Lustrian League, we've seen the Stunty League, so in the Lizardman one and in the Halfling one, and now we've got a Spooky Skull Cup. So coaches, blah blah blah, 1 million inducements, standard one, but there is an additional inducement that you can take, which is End Zone Spirits. So 50k each, and whenever a player from the opposing team moves into your end zone, they've got to roll a d6. On a 2+, they're fine, but on a roll of a 1, the spirits manage to grab the player's legs and bring them crashing to the turf. The model falls over. If they were in possession of the ball, no touchdown is scored. So, hands up if you ever go for it, rushed into the end zone and failed a 1 followed by a 1. And now you've got to do this as well. So I really love this. It basically forces your opponent to have to rush into the end zone. It's minor, but man, is that going to come up. I really love it, and it's a shame this is only available in this league, because that would be a very interesting inducement in Standard League. So goes through prizes, but there is a special one here which I really like the idea of. So the Spooky Skull Cup. In addition to the cash prize, the winner will receive the coveted, if somewhat gruesome looking, Spooky Skull Cup. As well as being able to parade this prestigious trophy around, the very presence of the cup is enough to strike fear into even the bravest of opponents. Even Bill Belichick. The team that holds a spooky cup gains the following ability. At the start of each game, roll a d6. On a 4+, your opponent loses a single reroll for the duration of the game. So you guys who've listened to the podcast will know I'm a fan of that, because that's basically the rule for one of the teams that we had at Beachhead. So that's really interesting. And then it carries on. So here you've got the coffin corner stuff, which is just fluff and things, which is pretty sweet. But there is a kickoff table and a weather table. Now, I'm not going to go through it all. Technically, you can just screenshot and read it yourself, but it is really good fun to look at. So let's pick one from the weather table, though. Let's go for thick fog. Fog descends on the pitch, making it hard to see past a certain point. Players making a pass action may not perform a long pass or long bomb. So it's all about just nerfing the ability to pass and to dodge. So the Sylvanian kickoff table, let's choose one of these as well. Zombified hand. Here we go, let's have a look at this one. Sometimes even parts of the undead can keep moving when separated from their original body. Both coaches roll a d6. The team that scored the lowest, or both teams in the case of a tie, randomly selects one of their players on the pitch. The player has been grabbed by a zombified hand until the end of the drive. Reduce that movement, that player's movement by 1. It's just cool, themey stuff. And the great thing is that if you're running a league like this, it's cool to have some extra theme. But if you're not running a league like this, it provides anybody who's running a tournament additional tournaments tend to come up with their own kickoff tables and special rules and things like that. You can just run a spooky Skull Cup, and you've got the rules right here. You've got special kickoff, you've got special weather, you've got theme immediately. So players, right, there is an additional step. So additional post-game sequence rules. Games played as part of the Spooky Skull Cup. Basically, you roll this at the end. During the post-game sequence, a coach who had a player that suffered a dead result on the injury table may hire a wandering necromancer in order to try and have their player raised from the dead. So just in this league, if you have a guy that dies, as in dies, 15, 16 dies, you pay 50k and you hire a necromancer, and then you roll on this chart. So on a 1, he dies and you still lose the 50k. This is from your treasury. This is not an inducement. This is after the game. On a 2, he dies but you get a refund. On a 3, the necromancer successfully raised the player. However, they are demanding an extra 20k. If it's paid, then the player is raised from the dead. Otherwise, he's not raised and the money is lost. Okay. And then 4 to 6, they live. The necromancer has successfully raised the player from the dead. They can be added back to your roster and will gain the regeneration trait because they're undead. However, the player gains the Loner 3+ trait and reduces their agility by 1 to a maximum of 5+. So you can bring your guy back to the dead, but he's going to get Loner 3+ because he's a zombie. He gets regeneration, but you lose an agility. So there are a bunch of teams where that would be beneficial and a bunch of teams where it would be not. Let's just take a second to think. Some of your big bruisers that don't have a lot of agility anyway, lizardmen like Saurus or Crocs or Black Orcs potentially. It could be quite cool. That is just super themey, so I really love that. And then it gets better. One of the things they've upgraded is you've got the pitch rules here and the ball rules as well. So instead of having to wait and look at the back of the pitch or hope that White Dwarf releases some rules for the balls, it's in this spike. So it's just a really themey publication, which I think is absolutely awesome. So the Necromantic Horror Nightmare pitch basically has 2 sides, one at dusk and one at nighttime. So if you both agree to use this pitch, you start with the fading light side of the pitch. And on the fading light side of the pitch, this makes it slightly tricky to pass the ball long distances accurately, and so all players suffer -1 to long pass or long bombs. Okay, so throwing is harder on the fading light, and then at half time you flip it over to the dead of night. And there's 2 things here. So players cannot make long bombs or long passes at all, and additionally, it is during the dead of night that the pitch really comes alive. During the second half of a game played on the Necromantic Horror pitch, the following rule is in play. From beneath the surface of the pitch, possessed pumpkin vines and the clawing hands of the undead reach out and grasp at the feet of the players. Any player that attempts to dodge, rush, or leap suffers an additional -1 penalty to their roll. So this is just bad for everybody. The passing is going to be really useful if you are up against a high edge team. I think, you know, pro elves, they're going to suffer, but it's just going to brutalize everybody in the second half because you just can't do anything because it's dark and there's just undead hands grabbing you. I love it. I think it's thematic. I don't think it will be fun. I think it'll be brutal, but quite a good thing to force in your undead league, perhaps. So we've got the balls. There's 2 balls here. There's a pumpkin ball, and whenever the pumpkin ball touches the ground, roll a d6. On a 2+, it's absolutely fine. On the roll of a 1, the pumpkin ball is smashed and is no longer usable. If this happens as part of the kickoff, it will result in a touchback. At any other situation, the referee just throws a new ball onto the pitch as close to where the old ball was as possible. Basically, you deviate a ball from the original position in the same way as if it was a kickoff. So deviate, for example, from a wildly inaccurate throw is normally d6 squares in a d8 direction. This is d3 squares in a d8 direction. So you drop the ball, it explodes, the referee chucks a new one in the vicinity. That's cool. It's fluffy. It's brilliant. The other one, though, is awesome. So the stitched brain ball. Let's see if I can get a better shot of this on the camera rather than going full Star Trek with lens flares. Oh, I think I'm going to struggle here. There we go. Let's do this. Slightly out of focus, but it's the best I can do for now, guys. Oh, no, give up. Okay, so at the start of the game, roll a d6 to see what type of brain was used to make this ball. So 1, troll brain. The person carrying the ball gets really stupid. On a 2, infected, the gets disturbing presence. 3, possessed brain, player carrying the ball gets frenzy. On a 4, the ball is a human brain and they get wrestle. On a 5, it's a dwarf brain and they get thick skull. And on a 6, it's an elf brain and they get dodge. So this is why you're carrying the ball. Again, another optional rule to add a necromantic theme. This is doing a really good job of just chucking in a bunch of necromantic themed stuff. All optional, just fun and fluff that they didn't need to put in. You've got Chat with the Rat, which you have in every episode, and this is also really good. They've got a bunch of starting roster stuff. So there's 2 different starting rosters, and there's some stuff here for development as well. Now, we've done a couple of videos, so we've got a video for starting rosters, which I will link here. And we're also going to be doing a developing video because we're doing it for all the teams, looking at who to level up when and with what skill. But it's very much the same as this. So whoever wrote this guide, I think they've done a superb job. Now, we saw a great job of the Snotling one. I think that was by Steve Cross. I don't know who's done this one, but I think it's awesome. And it's great to see what they recommend on the Wraith as well. And they've even got some setup guides. Setup guides are tricky for this team because the starting loadout for your team can vary so much, but I like that they've given it a go with offense and defense. And then we've got another star player spotlight with Bryce the Slice Cambuel. So movement 5, strength 3, agility 4+, no passing, 9+ armor, 130k, so 10k cheaper than Helmut Wolf. Chainsaw, loner, regeneration, secret weapon, stand firm, and thick skull. Ghostly Flames is the special rule here. Once per half, when Bryce makes the chainsaw attack, as part of a blitz action, he adds +4 to the armor roll instead of +3, so once per half. So once per half is assuming that Bryce is going to be around for more than one drive, but +4 to a chainsaw instead of +3 is pretty sweet. So you're probably going to get your money's worth out of him if he even gets to go for a blitz. So I like that. And 130k, if you've got 270, you can double chainsaw it. And then we've got some actual rules. Okay, so I'll see if I can juggle the camera around to get this on the screen. So we've got the infamous coaching staff. 0-1 Professor Frankelheim. So 130k available to any team with a Sylvanian Spotlight special rule. So that's Undead, Necromantic, and Khemri for now. I'm going to assume they are going to bring on more Undead teams. Vampires really need a buff. Actually, Vampires will get access to this as well. So background is that you can hire Dr. Frankenstein, essentially, for your team. So here it works. This is how it works. Have you thought about an upgrade? During the pre-game sequence, after step 4 but before step 5, I like that they're breaking it down into that level of detail, so really you can follow it through and you know exactly what's going on. Randomly select D3 players on your team that are eligible to play. These players have been modified by the Professor. Until the end of this game, each selected player gains a single randomly selected skill from the mutations category. However, at the start of step 3 of the post-game sequence, roll a d6 for each of these players unless they suffered and did not recover from a casualty table result of 15-16 dead. So, before we carry on, basically, Dr. Frankenstein takes some of your undead players and modifies them, and up to D3 random players start the game with a random mutation. So could be 2 heads, could be extra hands, you know, that's really cool, really thematic. 130k. It is rubbish that it can be one guy, but D3 could be really, really fun. However, after the game you roll on this here chart. The experiment proves a bit faily, so on a roll of a 1 they miss next game. On a 2 to 5, the skill is forgotten. On a 6, they keep that skill without having to spend SPP. You do have to add 20k to their value for getting a random secondary. But this inducement gives up to 3 players a random mutation for a game. And on a 6, after the game, they get to keep it forever. So you could end up with a golem with tentacles or extra heads or just something cool. I just love it. I don't know if I would ever recommend it. I think with this team, 100k, 130k could be spent better, for example, on Bruce. Cambuel, like for a chainsaw, or an extra team reroll, or I don't know, quite a lot of stuff. Save 20k more and get a wizard, for example. However, for theme, and just the fact it's an actual rule that will affect your league, it will affect your team forever, I think that's really cool. It is quite a price, 130k, so it's not competitive, but for a league, for a theme heavy league, it's a really cool option. So we've got a wizard as well, so this is just ticking off all my boxes. Absolutely, we've got fun theme rules, and now we've got a wizard. So this is the Wicked Witch. Once per game, gets 2 spells. This is 150k. Zap, which is the frog one, which is absolutely standard, so you roll a d6. If it's equal to or higher than the target's strength, they get turned into a frog for the end of the drive. If it's less, it doesn't work at all. And their special spell is Plague of Warts. So you may cast this spell at the start of any of the opposition's turn before any player is activated. Roll a dice. On a 3+, the player is hit and their skin unexpectedly erupts in a mass of warts. On a 1 or 2, nothing happens. So if they are affected, their movement, strength and agility is all reduced by 1, and they get Disturbing Presence and Foul Appearance. So if you're going to take this wizard, I do think that the frog option is probably a better one, and I don't think this wizard is as good as the sports wizard, because Fireball is just better, I think. But you got a 3+ chance to give a player Disturbing Presence and Foul Appearance, or if you want to take her in your opponent's team, move, strength and agility reduced by 1. Now, they will get Foul Appearance and Disturbing Presence, but you can use that on your own player to add that DP. So a random zombie having Disturbing Presence could be quite beneficial. Probably not as beneficial as trying to get someone turned into a frog. So cool wizard, about on par with the other ones, as in probably not as good as the sports wizard. And we've got some great little artwork, great cartoon here, love it, comic book, more art, more teams, and that's the end of the book. So I absolutely love this Spike magazine. It's got theme aplenty, it's got artwork and style that fit this rules, it's got the new rules, it's got an actual player development and element to it, which I really like. You've got league rules, you've got pitches, you've got balls, you've got weather, kickoff tables, you've got star players, and you've got 2 new inducements, a wizard and an actual inducement that you can buy that's going to give your players mutations forever if you roll very well, if you get very lucky. So of all the Spike magazines, I have loved reading this one the most, and I'm really excited to run the Necromantic team. But the best thing about this whole thing is that this is optional. The team box comes with rules in it. It comes with the roster. The Blood Bowl 2020 rulebook comes with the team roster. You get this Spike for some star player rules, for some theme, and I don't know, I can't remember how much it is now. It's like £10 or something like that. This is a great Blood Bowl magazine. Good job. Just straight up, really good job. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling about Spike 11 now and let you hopefully go and read your own copy today or tomorrow or soon enough. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Let me know in the comments if you will be picking this one up and what you think, and I will see you again soon for more Blood Bowl content. See you later.